of life. In the right hand the figure receives the festoon of flowers from youth, and in the left it supports the frame of the cabinet. The festoon is carried on to maturity, which represents the time when 60 years bring him to the period of decline. Its right hand assists with the left of that of manhood, in supporting the cabinet. Encircling his brow are corn ears and wine cups, together with barley, wheat, grapes, and hops, the whole of which are most elaborately and finely chiselled. The hand of maturity points downward to old age. The furrowed brow, the sunken cheek, the dim and glassy eye observable in this figure, conveys the mournful intelligence that the sand of life is fast approaching its last little grain. The bent form and the thoughtful brow tell that time, the consumer of all things, has also ravaged a once erect and powerful frame. The contemplation of this figure, beautifully executed as it is, intuitively inculcates a serious consideration of the value and blessings of a temperate and well-spent life. It induces a thoughtful reflection that a life of goodness alone ensures an end of peace. The holly, the mistletoe, the ivy, the acorn shell, the leafless branch, and the fruitless vine encircle the brow-fit emblems of the period which marks an exchange of time for eternity. All the figures are rendered complete by a carved lion's foot, at the bottom of each, and above the feet is a connecting frame, to make that portion of the stand perfect. Between the figures of spring and summer are carved flowers and fruit in great profusion, emblematical of the seasons, and forming a fine piece of work. It represents the all-important fact that time flies, by an hourglass borne on the wings of a splendidly carved eagle, and suspending from the bird's beak are the letters, curiously wrought, forming Tempus Fugit. This rests on a globe, representative of the earth, which is half sunk in a shell of water, overflowing the wheel of time, and shedding on fruit and flowers its refreshing dew. The space between the figures of autumn and winter is filled with carvings of the chrysanthemum, holly, ivy, and autumn fruit, intertwined with consummate skill and taste. The garland, or festoon, which is carried through, and sustained, as before stated, by each of the 4 figures, is composed of every flower indigenous to this part of the land, and introduced emblematically to the time in which they severally bloom. Above the figures, and resting on their heads, is a stand or frame to receive the top part, containing the drawers, doors, etc., and is constructed in a peculiar manner on the bevel, that the eye may easily rest on some beautiful lines from Thomson's Seasons. Over the head of youth, in this frame, is a basket of strawberries, cherries, raspberries, and early fruit, surrounded with leaf-work, enclosing a panel of needlework, covered with bent plate glass, and the motto, "Chief, lovely spring, in these and thy soft scenes the smiling God is seen." Then follows the carved figure representing summer. Over the head of it is a basket, containing currants, strawberries, gooseberries, apples, pears, peaches, and other fruits, enriched with leaf-work, the lily and the rose completing the centre. Between the summer and autumn baskets and a panel are the following mottoes, each season having one: "Child of the sun, refulgent summer comes, in pride of youth, while autumn, nodding o'er the yellow plain, comes jovial on." Then follows the autumn basket, containing grapes, pears, filberts, etc., surrounded with leaf-work. The panel of needlework next appears for winter, with these lines: "See, winter comes to rule the very year, sullen and sad." And over the head of the winter figure is placed a basket of walnuts, medlars, etc. Here is the frame of the cabinet, which contains about 80 drawers in fine walnut wood, enriched with fuchsia drops in silver, and coral beads for drop handles. The woodwork is relieved with silvered plate glass, also small doors with plate glass for needlework, in wild flowers. This completes the interior of the frame. The exterior represents 3 carved doors, in fine relief. Over spring and summer is the convolvulus, entwined round the frame. Then follows the centre door, in fine relief, the grapevine, full of fruit, being very prominent. The door over autumn and winter is enriched with carvings of barley and hop wine. Between each of these doors are pilasters, forming 4 female figures, holding in their hands the emblems of the seasons, and a newly invented glass dome head, in an elegant form, for the protection of knitted flowers in Berlin wool. The woodwork is tastefully arranged, springing from each group of flowers over the heads of the female figures, with mouldings to receive the bent plate glass, and is enriched with fine carvings of fruit and flowers. At the extreme top of this glass dome stands a beautiful figure of Peace, with extended wings, bending over the globe, holding in one hand the olive branch, and with the other pointing to the Deity. Having thus given a description of the carvings of this splendid cabinet, let me turn your attention to the enrichments in needlework, worked on black velvet, from nature, by Miss Kingsbury. The mottoes in frame for the different seasons are worked in floss silk of various colors. The inside doors, 5 in number, with wild flowers, and in front are rich specimens of raised embroidery, extending to the inside, and protected with plate glass. Miss Kingsbury is a young lady of Taunton, who has made this kind of work her particular forte. Above the doors also are knitted flowers in Berlin wools, which fill the dome head, and are protected with bent plate glass. Almost every flower, as they bloom, are to be distinguished in these rich bouquets, with which the honeysuckle and passion flower are beautifully entwined. Now, what think you of such a cabinet as this? Well, Charley, there are scores and scores of objects as much deserving a full description as this. The department of machinery and steam power is entirely beyond my ability to speak of in proper terms. I have little mechanical genius, and never am more out of my element than when surrounded by fly wheels, cylinders, and walking beams. If our friend Ike had been here, he would have been perfectly at home, and his pleasure and profit in this department would have surpassed any I could experience. I have only glanced at a few of the wonderful things in this wonderful place, and yet I have far exceeded the bounds of an ordinary letter. Yours affectionately, J.O.C. End of letter 16. Read by Sibella Denton. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, please visit LibriVox.org.